Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the 2023 Ford F250 SuperDuty Lariat. Huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this truck for me today. They have a huge selection of pretty much brand new inventory. That link is down in the description. So this SuperDuty is finished off in Star White Metallic. It has an MSRP at just over $61,000. And powering this specific model, this has the 6.7 liter Power Stroke Turbo Diesel V8 paired to the 10-speed automatic transmission, pumping out 475 horsepower, 1,050 pound-feet of torque. That power is primarily sent to the rear wheels. However, this also has the 4x4 package as well. It weighs in right around 6,400 pounds. Will do 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds. Top speed is 125. It also has a fuel capacity up to 48 gallons. And it has a wheelbase of 159.7. Its overall length is 250 inches. Its width is 105.9. It has a height of 81.6, and ground clearance measures in at 9.2 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this SuperDuty, let's start off with SuperDuty stamped at the end of the hood. On this model, it's black with the red outline, which is a really cool distinctive design. And then for the 23-year model, we have a little bit of a difference with the grille and the headlight design. So this still retains the LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals with that DRL strip running in a giant C shape. This model also has a lot of chrome, which does match nicely with this white. It's even surrounding the Ford badge where there's the forward-facing camera, and there are tons of inlets to provide a lot of cooling to that engine. There's even a large one right in the middle where airflow can just get sucked up right into some of those front cooling components. There's tow hooks on both sides, even fog lights and sensors, and then that lower air dam just to help improve with some of the aerodynamics and fuel efficiency. And then the classic bulges coming down both sides of the hood finish it up very nicely. Now for the side, this has a set of 20-inch wheels. We have that multi-spoke design to them with the chrome finish. There's also more chrome on the F250 badge with the Lariat badge just above that. The engine badge is down below, and we have massive telescoping side mirrors. So there's chrome on the top along with the turn signal, Ford badge, spotlight underneath, and they will actually extend to give you better visibility when you have a trailer behind this. Now there's some black accents in between the windows, chrome on the door handles. This even has more chrome on the power side steps. So when you open up the door, those will retract, and that makes it much easier to enter and exit. And this also has a really long bed to it, but it gives it good proportions too. There's a line in the lower section that goes all the way to the back. There's even a bed step in the front of the bed, so that makes it much easier to gain access to the front if you need it. And then you also have a step on the back of the bumper. We have that dual exit exhaust on the passenger side, and then LED taillights in the back. SuperDuty is also stamped right through that tailgate. We have a backup camera, all of the sensors, even chrome bumper end caps. This model can even tow right around 22,000 pounds. It has a payload capacity right under 4,000 pounds too. And we can start this up, so let's lock it, and then if we double tap this button, it will fire right up. Really good feature to have, especially for this diesel. And then from there, you can use the button on the tailgate itself or the button on the key fob. And then you have access to a ton of space. No spray and bed liner for this model, but there's sections where you can put tie-down hooks. There's dome lights too, and then even some more hooks on both sides. There's a tape measure on the end of the tailgate, and of course you do get the bed step. So you can pull that out. We have the handle too, and just like that, gives you much better access when you're getting in and out of that bed. So if you're using this truck every single day, you don't have to keep jumping up and jumping down. And then you do need two hands to collapse the handle there. From there, I can just grab the ladder by itself, and it's a pretty light tailgate, even though we have that entire mechanism. That's nothing new from Ford, but it's definitely a great design, especially with how tall that tailgate is once it's opened. Now, as we work our way to the back seats, looks like I have to unlock it from the front door handle in order to open up the back. We have a beautiful two-tone with all of the leather. There's even the Bang & Olufsen sound system, plenty of storage in this door too. Release handle is nicely hidden away behind that grab handle. And then for the back seats, that two-tone leather works its way to these seats, where I can also lift up the seat too. That gives you a lot more space, and you do have this divider that you can pull up and lock. With that other seat up, of course, you have that you can lock into place. You have a little bit in the back side. So there's a ton of room. Just pull on this tab and then you can lock that back into place. Now at 5'10", that grab handle and side step make it much easier to get into this. Look at the amount of foot room that there is behind these seats. There's storage pockets, cup holders. These are even heated seats too. We have tons of auxiliaries, and I have 2 or 3 inches above my head at 5'10". It is so spacious. It's a full-size truck, so that's what you would expect. You can have 3 full-size adults in the back and have no problems. Armrest and cup holders in the middle, electronic sliding rear glass, and plenty of visibility. When that sunroof or sunshade is open too, you definitely get a lot of light. So it's a massive amount of space. Now up front, the door panel is just like the rear. However, there's all the window adjustments, side mirror controls. This is what I mentioned earlier with the telescoping side mirrors. So they go all the way out. If you're towing, very helpful to have that. This also has memory seat, and then a lot more controls underneath. Power operated front seats, of course, even with speakers in the headrest, Bang & Olufsen logo. These are heated and ventilated. And it's nice you get a grab handle for your front seat passengers too. Now the steering wheel is completely covered in leather with all the stitching. On this left side, there's volume and Bluetooth controls along with distance pacing, all the cruise control settings. On the right side, there's tuning along with some more call buttons, and then you even have more buttons for the gauge cluster. So let's fire this back up and we can go over the rest of this info. Look at the size of this digital gauge cluster as well. Now on the left side, there's the tach, right side is miles per hour. And then right in the middle, in the upper section, those are all fixed. So there's fuel level, engine and oil temperature, and some other vitals. Now, if we scroll through the main menu now, if I go into My View, this is customizable. So you can set this to whatever you would like to see. There's a calm view, trip information, fuel economy, tire pressure, and then this is where you can configure that screen as needed. Now you can go through all this stuff individually, of course, like your trip and fuel, even go into the head-up display so you can adjust and configure that as needed. There's gauges you can monitor, even off-road. So you can look at the status, pitch and roll, go into your towing information, even pull up the nav, and then you have everything else like phone, audio, vehicle maintenance, and settings. Now if I go into head-up display again, I can go to the drive mode layout where you can actually change that just depending on what you're doing. So on the head-up display right now, it is showing the RPM with the miles per hour. If I go to off-road, now it will change again, pitch and roll, along with degrees for the steering wheel. And then there's also the normal, which just shows you the time, temperature, and the miles per hour. Pretty cool to be able to do that and quickly adjust that. Now on the right side, this is actually the gear selector. So if I pull on it down, that goes into reverse where we can look at the backup camera and the 360 view. On the upper section, I can push on these various icons to go through the different angles. There's even a bed and a downward angle there, which is really nice. You have the top-down view too. And then I can go all the way down into drive. If I push on the end of the stalk, that goes into the manual settings. So you can shift using plus and minus to go through those gears. So if you're towing, it can make it very beneficial. Now on the left side, there's the pedal adjustment, the e-brake, all of the headlight and fog light adjustments, dimmer switches for the gauges. There's a spotlight in the bed. You even have these spotlights under the side view mirrors like I mentioned earlier. And if you double tap that, it will deploy the tailgate. Really cool trim accent surrounding one air vent. A little bit of storage above too with another Bang & Olufsen logo. And then as we come back to the infotainment system, up top we have the engine braking, which you can turn on and off. We also have a shortcut to the camera system. Now you can utilize that button to pull up the forward-facing camera, and you get very similar angles as you did in the rear, along with some of the rear ones, even the side view mirrors, which is really cool to see. And then if I push on that again, it will disappear. There's the parking sensors, hazards, and traction control, and then a lot of info to go through on the screen. We can quickly get into audio and phone, pull up the nav in full screen. There's a phone list, so you can have all that ready to go. Even apps like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Different settings that you can go into just to set this up the way that you would like to. And then under features, you have driver assistance, so that way you can go through your cruise and all of that, all those adjustments. There's the running boards, which you can turn on and off. and then even zone lighting. So this is going to take the headlights, the taillights, and the side mirrors, and you can turn all of them on at once. So if you're using this truck at nighttime, you have plenty of light. You will also notice too that while I went through all that info, on the far right, all of this is a separate screen basically for information that you can go through and utilize. So it's really neat. You can scroll through it a few different ways. So that way you can have two different things up at once. Now on this left side, this has the Pro trailering system, so you can use that to help back up if needed. There's trailer braking underneath that, and then all the four-wheel drive modes. And then right in the middle, power and volume for the radio and tuning. If I push on this button, you actually have three different ways you can have that screen, just depending on what you'd like to see. Some other audio adjustments, and then we have the temperature, fan speed, heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel. The rest of the AC controls are nicely laid out. On the right side, there's even more auxiliaries that you can use, and there's a hidden button right here for the upper glove box. SuperDuty is also just underneath that, which is nice to see. And then we have the traditional glove box, of course, underneath. And then coming back to the middle, there's wireless charging with a huge storage bin on that side. You can close that up with this wood trim piece. A little bit of storage in front of that with two cup holders. You have two more on this right side, but you can also make those disappear. So if you have some different shaped items or you have extra drinks, it makes it really nice. There's also storage space underneath, which is great to see. And then for the center armrest, you have a lot of space with this removable tray, so you can place in a lot of items as needed. Up top, there's all these factory auxiliary switches. So if you have compressors, extra lights, anything like that, you can hook them up. There's a sunglass holder, which is nice, dome lights, even that rear window. And then we have the sunshade adjustments too, so you can open that up. But there's plenty of visibility in this truck. It is so easy to see in both directions. But let's go ahead and get the SuperDuty out on the road. As we set off now behind the wheel for this SuperDuty, I mentioned earlier that the starting MSRP is around $61,000. Now that is for a base model, as basic as you can go truck. When you add in options, you can go up to around $90,000. So there's a huge price discrepancy depending on what you want out of your truck and the engine options too. We have the 6.7 liter Power Stroke turbo diesel. You can get a few other engine options that are going to be much less in price. So it depends on what you're putting into this truck and what that MSRP will be. So you have a huge range with your budget and what you're looking to get. We are in a pretty much fully loaded SuperDuty. So we have all the bells and whistles, and we have a really cool truck to check out. So I get to drive SuperDuties a good bit, and I love when I get to drive these. I was just in a Tacoma, so when you go from a mid-size truck to a full-size F250, this is a big change. Of course, if you need a truck like this, you'll get used to it, driving it, where you need to park, things like that. And what I also love is extending these mirrors. You really got to be a little bit careful with that massive width when you add these mirrors on. But again, those are going to help you with towing and what you're using this truck for. I hope if you are buying this truck, you got stuff that you're towing. You're using it as a truck and what its purposes are capable of. But if you don't have anything on the back, it's a great daily driver. It's super comfortable. I really like how daily driver friendly work trucks like this are becoming, because if you have a business where you're towing massive loads, you want to be comfortable too at the same time. We have heated and ventilated seats, which I'm using right now, which just adds to that comfortability. And it's something that you're going to put a lot of miles on. So if you're using this, you want to be able to drive something every day at the same time. And nothing too crazy today, but even with an empty truck, I mean, you have so much torque that this thing can just get up and move. So with an empty truck like we have right now, it's got plenty of power, but it has a lot of capabilities for those towing situations. Now, let's go back to the price real quick. From that $60,000 to $90,000 range, it's really not out of the normal when you compare to other competitors, like even some of the Rams. You have Chevy, GMC, and you have other vehicles that are in that price range. And of course, there's going to be pros and cons to each of them, but you have a lot of different options to go with. You have a really nice layout for this Ford model. So I really don't have any complaints with what's in this particular model with all these features and the price that you're paying, I can see it being justifiable with what it provides you and what it has to offer. Now, this is also very comfortable to drive. It's very smooth too, and you have plenty of space on the interior. But let's give it another quick acceleration. It's crazy that it just wants to keep going. Now, I will say, with this 10-speed automatic, there's some Ford models that I'm not a huge fan of that transmission being in. Let's say a Mustang, for example. When you have a sports car and you're doing a lot more shifting, if you're on some back roads or just having fun with it, 10 speeds is a lot to go through. When you're towing, 10 speeds is nice to have because the truck will find the right gear. I don't have experience towing with an F250 or with the 10 speed, so I'm not sure on this. But with 10 speeds, you have more gears to go through. Will it shift as quick because there's more gears, or go through more gears more quickly? That I'm not sure about. If you own one, definitely let us know what it's like towing with. But I think it's beneficial for those aspects, for towing and help finding the right gear. Sports cars, I don't think it's quite as necessary. I think it's an overkill for the sports cars. But in this, it seems to shift very smooth for the driving that I've been doing today. And we'll pop it into the manual setting and give it some gas. It's actually pretty responsive. I wouldn't say you would sit there and do this all day, but for the towing capabilities and purposes, it is nice to have if you need to drop a gear for whatever reason. But seems pretty responsive for that slight acceleration that I did with it. And as far as turning radius goes, it's a huge truck, but don't let that deter you. If you need these capabilities, obviously you're going to get it. But not all that bad for that quick turnaround. And of course, you'll just have to find where you need to park because it is such a long truck. But behind the wheel now of this F250 SuperDuty, really nice place to be. I love all the materials for this particular model. Pretty much fully loaded, so it gives you a very nice interior, something you can daily drive with the amount of tech that is offered for this. I think it's a really nice place to be. And even bumps like that, it's super comfortable. That's what I love about all these new trucks too. They've made them so much more refined than what a pickup truck used to be, that you're just driving almost a normal vehicle in a sense as far as the comfortability, things like that. Not quite as refined, of course, as some other brands, but for a truck like this, very luxurious, especially for the price. You would expect something that's going to drive just like it does. Now you can hear a little bit of that diesel engine. It's not overkill though, so driving this on a daily basis would be perfectly fine. I do like that it doesn't seem as loud as some previous models or older pickup trucks where you heard that diesel coming down the road. If we give it a little bit of gas, it's almost hard to tell that it is a diesel. Obviously this model is, but from the driver's seat it almost sounds like a normal engine. So they have toned back that noise, which I think is great. If you want to hear that diesel, you'll just have to go with something else. But I personally, I think it's definitely more daily driver friendly to have it a little bit quieter. But with one more acceleration, that is going to wrap it up for this 2023 Ford F250 SuperDuty Lariat. Once again, a huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this massive truck for me. Check out their website, give the video a huge thumbs up, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.